Howdy everyone. How are we all? Welcome. Welcome, welcome. Well, hope you're all doing well this very fine, Thursday night here in, here in the studio, I guess, but from wherever you're watching in the world tonight. I'm Tesla Tom. I'm broadcasting to you from Sydney tonight, as I am most nights. And I'm very glad for your company indeed. Those of you watching live tonight, welcome, a special welcome. And of course, also welcome to those watching on replay. Thank you very much for always tuning in. And yeah, looking forward to chatting tonight. Tonight's topic is indeed about Tesla Model 3 sales 2021 Australia data. I've labeled it Tesla Model 3, but really it's about all EVs in Australia. Having the word Model 3 in the title does help the YouTube algorithm. But we are talking all EVs, so don't fret if you're an EV fan in general. Don't worry, this stream is for you. We're talking all electric vehicles. But of course, Model 3 being what it is the highest selling car, highest selling EV in Australia. So, of course, we have to mention Model 3, but that's the nature of tonight's topic, and I do apologize if tonight I'm just looking across at my connection. It's sort of showing 2 bars, 1 bar. It is a very windy night here in Sydney, or at least in my neck of the woods, and I know when it's windy, even though I've got it plugged in tonight into the router. I've got NBN, hybrid, fiber, coaxial, best I can get in my area. It may not be HD all the time, so I'm just looking across. It's okay now, I know, but it may cut out to dial-up type quality, but I do apologize. We'll see what we can do tonight. So yeah, we'll do some hellos and welcomes, and then we'll talk about, of course, electric vehicle sales. We've got a very special guest tonight, which I'll introduce a bit later on in the stream. But first, let's get to some of our lovely, beautiful viewers at the moment. If you're watching live, welcome indeed. If you're watching in the comments, if you're watching on replay, welcome also. Tonight's question is, did you buy an electric vehicle in 2021? That's tonight's question. Yes, no, maybe, and of course, what did you buy? Did you get it delivered in 2021? Are you expecting delivery this year, 2022? Still getting mixed up here, February 2022. I'm still saying 2021 occasionally, and still writing the date, well, typing the date 2021 every now and then. So it takes me about 3 months, I reckon, to get to 2022 in my head anyway. Not about you guys. So question tonight, did you buy an EV in 2021? Did you get it delivered in 2021? Are you expecting delivery in 2022? And of course, if you would like to support Tesla Tom's Ludicrous Feed, my YouTube channel, you can do so with a super chat, comment, or message tonight. Simple donation to keep us independent. You can also think about channel membership subscription as well. And of course, PayPal at Tesla Tom if you want to keep it anonymous. We've had a few of those lately as well. Just want to quickly just chat about my membership options as well, just quickly tonight. We've got the usual three: standard range, long range, and performance. $3.99 a month starting from. Everyone gets the use of loyalty badges and exclusive emojis, and of course shout outs during live streams, which we'll do in 1 second. Long range members get priority replies during live streams, and performance members get to help out with exclusive member-only polls. So they are the three membership options for Tesla Tom's Ludicrous Feed. Let's do a quick shout-out for some members who are on. I can see already. There we go. Riz, one of our members. Hey, Riz. I can see you actually in the studio. That's our special guest tonight. We'll get him on a bit later on. He's from chilly Melbourne. It's a little bit cold as well in Sydney. A bit cooler than what it's been as well in Sydney. Gaffer is saying g'day. Hey Gaffer, nice to see you on. He's often on in the chat there. So good to have you. And he says so much better than hot and humid. Yes, indeed. We've got, let's see who else we've got membership-wise. Yep, Peter Cook. Hey Peter, nice to see you there. It's getting nice and cool in Canberra. Such a relief, and bravo to the workers of the world uniting. Yep, who else we've got here? We've got Jim. Jim says, placed my order today for Model 3 and can charge on the way to work at Chery in Sydney. Yes, hope you've all seen my video, which I posted yesterday. Went out to, was it yesterday? Yes, no, I posted on, yeah, was it Wednesday? It was. Yes, I posted it last night because I went to Chery last night, or yesterday, to check it out. The new version 3 superchargers in the south of Sydney, in the Sutherland Shire. It's going to be a great location for those of you traveling south to the south coast, and obviously the other way as well. So yeah, I think it's going to be a fantastic addition to the supercharger network in New South Wales for sure. Seeing some people in the chat saying they ordered a Tesla or an EV. That's great. A few people also taking delivery as well very soon. That's great to hear. Is it still showing 20 odd weeks? I'm not sure. I'll have to look at the website if someone can look at that for me for Model 3. Olivia hoping to take delivery of a dual motor Cybertruck in 2025. Yeah, well, if it comes any sooner, I will certainly, if not buy, certainly rent one and certainly test it out for you guys. Brad's one of our members. Hey Brad, howdy. Yes, bought Model 3, 11/11/2021, delivered 7/25/22 scheduled. Okay, it's on the ship now on its way. Fantastic, awesome, congratulations, Brad. Yeah, Darren asks, how many Model 3 delivered in Australia last year? Well, that's the topic of tonight's chat, isn't it? We'll get to that very shortly. Yes, Gaffer says, haha, it'll feel new to me by the time I get my Model 3 performance back, Tom. Yes, I know Gaffer's Model 3 is in the workshop at the moment. Had a bit of a crash earlier this year, or late last year, I should say. Went off to the doctor early in November 21. Still waiting for it to come back, waiting on the side mirror. Yes, indeed. Oh, Jez. Hey, Jez has just donated $6.99. He is always... Here we go. No, but I know where I could park it when I get my Model Y. Tom's Luxury Garage. Yes, Jez always contributes to my supposed garage. It's thank you very much, Jez. Appreciate your support. Tesla making the news again today. Over the top reporting irks. Yes, I think today was about some crash, wasn't it? We'll have to maybe touch on that briefly. Saw that online today. Yes, Riz saying it's still showing 14 to 20 weeks. Thank you for that, Riz. All right, so, right. Thank you, Jez. I'll just hide that for a second. Good. I just want to show you briefly. I want to share, just quickly I want to read EV Council's report from earlier this week when they announced something quite important. Let's have a look. This was their press release. Let's see if I can just make this smaller so you guys can see. Here we go. All right, so Electric Vehicle Council, EV sales boom presents chance to capture serious electric benefits if government acts now. Reported on the 31st of January 2022. The Electric Vehicle Council has today released exclusive 2021 sales figures that show Australia at the precipice of an economic boom, EV economic boom. Make that bigger so we can see. There we go. If the federal government plays its cards right this year. Sales of plug-in electric vehicles tripled in the past year from 6,900 in 2020 to 20,665 in 2021. EVs now account for 1.95% market share of new vehicles, up from 0.78% in 2020. That's a huge jump. EV Council Chief Executive Behad Jafari said the boost in sales was being driven by positive policy change at a state level and that momentum could now be built upon. The penny has now well and truly dropped on how good electric vehicles are. Most people in the car market will now be considering an electric option. The role of government is to help them make the jump, Mr. Jafari said. Having followed Behad for a long time, that's always been his catch cry and his motto and his motive and his mission is that, yes, electric vehicles are the way to go. Government is to help smooth that transition. And I agree. Governments that take the path of encouragement will capture myriad societal benefits: cleaner air, reduced respiratory illness, smaller carbon footprint, quieter roads. Those that lag will make themselves a dumping ground for old tech dirty vehicles. It's great that some state governments have received the global message, but at a national level we're stuck in the past. We desperately need the federal government to introduce Australian EV rebates alongside fuel efficiency standards, just like other developed nations. If we get these changes, you'll see sales figures really rocket ahead. As a wealthy car-loving, early adapting nation, Australia should be an electric vehicle leader. If we were, we could restart a thriving manufacturing industry, supporting thousands of quality jobs, but we need to build rapidly on this current momentum. After so many wasted years, I love this bit, Australia's a long way back from the pack, but then again, the cool thing about electric cars is how quickly they move from 0 to 100. Yeah, I love that. Good line. And there's some stats on the top 10 BEV and PHEV models. So clearly that 20,000 electric vehicles sold in Australia last year covers both battery electric, which is purely 100% EV, as well as PHEV, which stands for plug-in hybrid electric vehicles, those that run on hybrid petrol and plug-in electric as well. And I just want to also share this screen as well, just real quick. So this is from Which Car. So Which Car is a subsidiary of Wheels magazine, the good people there at Wheels, and the article is very similar, but I just want to show you they've got a bit more information on the ranked cars. Let's just change my, here we go. So this is the stats. They've got more than 10. They've got, it goes down to like 50 or something. So obviously Model 3 clearly is ahead of the pack. 12,000 Model 3 sales in 2021. And by the way, there was a small correction. I think initially EV Council said there were 15,000. And we'll chat to Riz about why there was a bit of a discrepancy from 15 to 12. They did put out a correction. But the next top selling car was the MG ZS EV 1388. And then the Mitsubishi Outlander PHEV, still going strong after all these years. And see how there's a big drop from the MG to the Mitsubishi. 500 cars is not very many compared to, Tesla at 12,000. Porsche Taycan's up there, considering how expensive it is. That's good to see, I guess. Hyundai Kona EV, the new Volvo XC40, Ioniq. I guess there are only about 400 cars anyway in the country at the moment. that were released. Nissan Leaf, still up there. Mercedes-Benz EQA, Polestar, XC60. Oh, it's classified as XC60. Okay. Mercedes-Benz PHEV, Model X is still up there. Mini Electric, Kia Niro, so on and so forth. Ioniq 5's there as well. I guess that's a different variant to this one. That's the Ioniq PHEV. I see. Okay, this is the Ioniq 5 pure EV, and so on and so forth. Okay, so there we go. That's numbers get pretty small down the bottom here. They're into the low double digits. Some Mirais as well. There you go. Includes fuel cell EVs. Interesting. There we are. All right, so there you go. That's a bit of a snapshot of what EVs were sold in 2021. And what we'll do now is actually invite Riz on to the stream. I'll just get him on right now. Hey Riz, how you doing?
Hey Tom, going well? How you doing?
Very well, thanks. Nice of you to join us again tonight.
All good. Good to be here.
For those of you who don't know, Riz is one of our members, of course, but also is the founder of Carloop. Carloop is, I guess, the best way to describe it is data on the sales of EVs in Australia.
Yep, you got it.
Do you want to tell us a bit more about that, of your startup there, Riz?
I think it's second time on. Last time we're talking about Tesla resale values, and things have changed a little bit since then as well. But what we do is we collate data from multiple different sources, state governments, registrations, shipping data, and data from Infrastructure Australia, as well as crowdsourcing different insights and trends as to what's happening in the electric vehicle market, and also looking at the uptake and the predictions as to what will happen in Australia and where Australia sits from a global perspective as well. We've got over 300 million data points, and the data feed and the pipelines that we have with all of our data partners, it just grows every month. So every month we're getting close to 20 to 30 million new data points across the whole vehicle market. That includes more than just EVs, basically anything we can think of that's on our roads, we've got data on it. But my passion is electric vehicles and Teslas because I've got them. And that's what I'm sort of more passionate about. And that's what I like to share tonight.
Fantastic. And obviously you just heard me read the EV Council's press release. 12,000 Model 3s sold in Australia delivered in 2021 in Australia. Does that correlate with your data points?
I guess the original data collation was done by Drive last Friday. And then on over the weekend, EV Council put together their data set as well, which they got from Tesla. And that's very close to the amount of cars that we've seen, particularly Tesla Model 3s, register, as well as those that have arrived on boats and have actually made it into owners' hands. So that's what we're seeing as well. 12,085, I think it is. That's the rough number for the whole year. The Drive article was missing the first 2 weeks of 2021, but they had, I think, 3 weeks added in 2022. So there was a bit of an overlap there, where I believe the Electric Vehicle Council wants sort of cover the whole year, and that's the 12,000 figure, not the 15,000 that they accidentally put out there, which I believe originally I thought that maybe they're talking about sales and the deposits that Tesla had as a whole, which meant the 12,000 that were delivered that we saw in our data in 2021, as well as, let's say, 3,000 that would be delivered in Q1 2022. But then they clarified, saying it was our mistake. We actually added the 2020 numbers with the 2021 numbers. So they removed that 3,000, and so it all sort of balances out. So roughly around 12,000 Model 3s were sold, up from 3,400 overall Tesla sales in 2020.
Yep, that's still, very, very impressive. And I think from the article it was 1.95, 20,000 EVs makes up 1.95% of new car sales in 2021. It's still small in the grand scheme of things, but we are at least heading in the right direction.
Yeah, and that's what it looks like as well. I mean, there's certain parts of Europe. I think UK is heading around 11-12%, but they're sort of the market to look at because they're, I believe, probably 2 years ahead of us in terms of that. But as that Electric Vehicle Council press release sort of noted, that it can accelerate pretty quickly, as we're seeing with what's happened in the Chinese market, and they've well exceeded double the sales between 2020 and 2021, and they're set to double again in 2022. So huge demand globally. I think supply is going to be the main constraint.
Yep. I think particularly with batteries and silicon probably as well with chips. Let's get your data on that you very kindly prepared for this stream tonight. Let's see if I can get this on. Here we go. So Riz has kindly prepared this this page for us to have a look at. So he's broken down those 12,000 sales from 2021 to state by state. I'll just take off that banner so that we can see it better. There we go. So yeah, that's really, really kind of you, Riz. That's thanks so much for doing that. And you've compared it from 2021 to 2020, which is great. So we can see how much of an increase we've got in the last 2 years, I guess. And obviously, looking at the numbers here, we can see that my home state, not to brag, but New South Wales has done. What have I done here? Sorry. Scroll down. Here we go. So New South Wales has probably done the best in 2021, 3,551. And then your state, Riz, 3,074 in Victoria. Next best is Queensland, 2,990. And then WA, 1,501, just half of Queensland. ACT, 416, not bad. Sort of probably punching above its weight given the population, I'd say. And then South Australia, 410, and Tassie, 121. And Northern Territory rounds out at 22. Do you want to walk us through those figures?
Yeah, for sure. So New South Wales obviously leading the pack for various different reasons. One being probably the most progressive electric vehicle policy that is across the country in terms of the subsidies available, the stamp duty waivers, a whole lot of other initiatives, charging infrastructure, which I was actually quite surprised about, Tom, with your recent video that the Tesla V3 chargers have just actually been installed, where we have a couple of sites here in Victoria that have them. So that was interesting. But I guess Victoria, we had a bit of a tough year in terms of lockdowns and other things as well, which New South Wales did as well. But obviously we have road user surcharges, we have some incentive, well, some disincentives, along with our $3,000 zero emission vehicles rebate down here. So that did help the numbers. In terms of Queensland, kudos to them. Obviously, they didn't have as much of an impact of COVID, and hence people feeling a bit more confident. And I guess given they couldn't go anywhere, buying new cars, and why not go electric? So they 2,990, which is very close to Victorian sales, given they're probably about 20% lower in population up there as well. And then we sort of look at, I guess, the place the state that really stood out was Western Australia, and they had, they had over 400% increase year on year. In 2020, they registered around 270 Teslas, and in 2021 it was 1,501.
Wow.
So they've had a huge increase. And it was surprising because there was an article written in October talking about how the EV uptake in Western Australia is really poor. And obviously they weren't able to get some of the stats and figures that we've got now. And they were talking about reasons like, longer distances, lack of charging infrastructure, all of that. But this sort of disproves all of that.
Yeah, I mean, looking at your heat map here, full 45%, that's probably, I think, the highest of all the states that I can see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In terms of the uptake, yeah.
Yep. What do you think about ACT? I mean, what's ACT's population? Probably
I think
300,000? More than that?
last time I checked, maybe 600. I could be wrong.
Let's have a look. I'll Google it now. No, 431 as of
Okay,
September 2020. So there you go.
cool.
Still pretty good.
So yeah, they've done really well. I mean, a couple of different elements there. One being probably people feel very secure in their jobs in ACT
Yes.
because a lot of them are public servants and obviously other industries around that. Generally higher median wages as well in ACT.
Hmm.
There is an element of, we can sometimes say our government's purchasing these vehicles as a fleet purchase. I don't think that's the case because not on, I think probably later last year in 2021, parliamentarians were allowed to finally purchase a Tesla Model 3. And that was sort of proven by Bill Shorten purchasing or leasing one. So prior to that, apparently you could not, if you were working for the government, it was not on the approved list of vehicles. So that didn't contribute much towards those higher numbers in ACT given their population.
Interesting. Okay. What do you make of South Australia? Like they've just, I mean, they were late to the game with incentives. I think their incentives are only only released quite late in 2021. So you can understand why those numbers aren't as big as they should be. Hopefully, we see an increase in 2022.
I think that would be the case as well with incentives. Like we can see in certain states, I mean, Queensland will be, and I guess WA is a bit of an anomaly because mainly because of the lack of COVID restrictions, people feel more confident. They're happy to splurge a bit more. To them, it's not so much worrying about jobs, and housing is a little bit cheaper in those states as well, which means people don't have as high mortgages on average.
Hmm.
And given the lack of lockdowns, they were able to, spend a bit more on things that they thought they wanted, whether it's for the environment or, just electric cars are all around better. South Australia was a little bit of a lagger in terms of their, I guess, incentives. But now that they're starting to catch up, I feel quarter 1 is going to be a big quarter for them this year
Mm.
in terms of purchases. There is general consensus that South Australians are quite happy with their electric vehicles and the charging infrastructure is improving. Particularly, there's a lot of work being done on installing charging infrastructure, or starting to, around the Barossa Valley with the wineries and other things as well, which will encourage South Australians to go out there and explore their state a bit more, and with tourism. And it just becomes EVs become part of a lifestyle. So they're investing a bit more in their tourism and regional areas, which is also, an incentive for people to purchase one and not feel like they're going to run out of charge by the time they get out to these wineries and other places. So the uptake will be a lot higher, I feel, in 2022 in South Australia.
Yeah, I mean, I still get one of the top questions I still get asked about is what's the charging infrastructure like for those who are asking about EVs, and the range anxiety around road trips is still a real thing for people who are questioning, and you can't blame them. Like why people in Australia love holidays, as we've found out. Even if they can't travel out of the country, they're going to travel within the country, and having that infrastructure is really important. And I've just noticed today, looking at PlugShare, that in Sydney alone, our DC charger map is improving week to week. Like there's so many more than we had 12 months ago, which is great. We're speaking to Riz Akhtar from Car Loop, and we're talking EV sales and particularly Model 3 numbers here in Australia. I just want to quickly address a comment earlier from one of our viewers. So just want to quickly chat about Matt's comment here. Hi, Tom. I'm one of the many nervous EV purchasers that are still waiting. There are vehicle arrivals that are worried that the 25,000 vehicle cap, this is for New South Wales, will be reached for the $3,000 rebate before I get the vehicle. I guess I'll get your thoughts, Riz, but just for me off the bat, looking at these figures here, like New South Wales, sure, we had 3,000 sales, but still well short of the 25,000 cap. When do you think, Riz, that 25,000 vehicle cap's going to run out?
Look, the way things are going at the moment, I feel this year we'll get probably 50 to 70% more sales than we did in 2021. And the key constraint is going to be supply, which I think we'll maybe touch on a little bit later. In terms of, I guess, Matt's question, it's going to be a while. Like, if New South Wales, or if everyone doubles their sales in 2022, would still be 3 to 4 years away from sort of fully maximizing that cap. And I feel New South Wales government at the moment and people sort of really sort of value that proposition of increasing the uptake. They will increase that cap. So it's even, the biggest thing is if you can get a hold of an electric vehicle today, even if it comes in 6 to 9 months' time, it's still a good time. And the other thing is Tesla Model 3s in particular are way more affordable, not only with the subsidies, but Tesla themselves have, and Tom, you've covered this a couple of times on your sort of price updates as to what's happening with the price that Tesla's asking for these. They're the cheapest pretty much that they've been in Australia, as well as globally, they are probably the cheapest that we can buy in New South Wales in particular compared to anywhere else in the world at the moment. So that's enough of an incentive to do it. And I feel the prices are only going to go up.
Yep. I mean, I clearly aware. I mean, I'm biased personally, but having a Model 3 is still the most versatile electric vehicle in Australia. At the moment, only Teslas can access superchargers, as we all know. Actually, some people don't know that. I had to keep talking about that in my recent video. You can access Tesla superchargers as well as third-party chargers. So you've got probably double the amount of chargers around Australia than you would buying a non-Tesla EV.
Yeah. And I think that's that advantage that Tesla has over, I guess, most of the other brands, and having this exclusive sort of access to superchargers. It's such a big selling point in terms of, you go on any road trip, and last time I tested the SR Plus that I have, and that, went from 19% to, I believe, 90% in 20 or 25 minutes. That was at the V3 superchargers. One of the newer ones down here on the Mornington Peninsula for those from Victoria, or if you're planning on traveling down to the Mornington Peninsula, they've got a 6-stall charger set up there now, V3 chargers, and they're just real quick. And that's an advantage that Tesla will have over others. But as we're seeing in other markets, they're opening the network up to other EV owners as well.
Yep.
So I feel it's only a positive thing if you're considering buying an EV or you've got one. The charging infrastructure, it can only go up from here.
Yep. Let's talk about your home state a bit, Riz, Victoria. Let's stoke the fire a little bit here, because that's what I'd like to do. Victoria, let's have a look here. So Victoria's increased from 2020 to 2021 by 284%. We mentioned just briefly before, by the way, I'm mentioning Victoria because someone, Dilshan, thought he missed the Victoria EV uptake rundown, but we'll talk about that now. Look, obviously Victoria was a bit controversial in 2021. I believe your Premier or your government introduced the the road tax, the EV tax, but at the same time they tried to sweeten it with that $3,000 incentive as well. Do you think Victoria might have beaten New South Wales if it wasn't for the road tax in 2021?
I think that would be one of the factors. I don't think it would beat New South Wales in terms of, because the incentives there are really good. Like that stamp duty waiver I think they have at the moment, like makes the Model 3 $59,000 proposition for most people. You can't get a base model Mercedes C-Class for that anymore.
No.
They're approaching $75,000 as well, because they're playing in the same space. Obviously, one being electric and the other being a luxury car. But having said that, I feel there's other constraints as well in Victoria, and people are a little bit, annoyed because they feel that it is premature for the government to sort of charge the amount, given that we know that not all the fuel excise goes towards roads. So that's that's one of the things they talk about, and it's a federal tax. So I don't know why states taxing, but anyway, that's just my personal opinion on it. I did, just for everyone's benefit, I did have to visit Vic Roads, even in a pandemic, in early January, to go and submit my odometer reading because the online system is not very good. Anyway, having done that, I filled out 3 forms.
Wow.
To submit my odometer reading.
To pay a tax.
To pay a tax. So, I did about 10,000 kilometers. It was around $250. One thing I did notice, though, is that they've actually reduced the cost of registration by about $100.
I just want to
for EVs.
Yeah, Nick Frampton, one of our viewers, is saying yes, Victoria gets a $100 vehicle registration. Absolutely right.
But it doesn't. If on average we travel around 10 to 15,000 kilometers, we'll still end up paying more than what that $100 is. But that's just, I guess, what we have at the moment. Maybe there is more incentives on the way, but to sum it up, I still think New South Wales would have had the outcome that they've had, and I don't think Victoria would have edged New South Wales on the sales side of things, particularly given $3,000 is $3,000 for anybody. The incentives that is up there in New South Wales. In Victoria, the subsidies as well, they're $3,000 at the moment, but from memory, I think there were about 16,000 or 12,000 places available, compared to what I guess one of the viewers mentioned earlier, 25,000 in New South Wales.
That's correct. Yeah, right. Interesting. Okay, that's good insight there. I just want to, by the way, we are chatting to Riz Akhtar, founder of carloop.com.au. We are chatting Model 3 sales data across the country, in amongst EV sales data as well. I just want to thank Matt Ghoscum, who has just become a new member for our channel. Thank you very much, Matt. Really appreciate your support. Thank you so much. And you will like to play with our custom emojis as well. So welcome to the club. Now, we just want to quickly, just a bit off topic, but not too much. We've got Bren Pike, one of our viewers, who said, received a phone call from Tesla 2 weeks ago stating my ordered Model 3 long range is expected to arrive mid-Feb, which is only next week, really, complete with the Ryzen chipped infotainment. That's fantastic. No word on boomboxes yet. I'm more interested in the Ryzen chip here. That's so good. Riz, what do you think about that? Would that make a big difference to the Model 3?
I think it would add a lot of value to the car. I think it's also I feel one of the things they're trying to streamline the production, and obviously all the parts, particularly chips and processors that they're using, which is a smart thing to do. Everyone is getting a premium car. Like that's, whatever we get, that's one thing about Tesla that I think all other manufacturers had the business model of, offering more by paying so much more in their different variants, regardless of wherever they are on the variant chart. But Tesla seems to put everything in, and I think that's awesome. I'm not sure how they're going to go about this, because in the sense that how they will utilize it, because it's for the infotainment unit, from what I understand. I also understand that in late 2020, they actually set up, Tesla in the US, set up a gaming studio. So that's some of the Sonics and some of the other games that we're seeing now is sort of some of the work that they've been doing. So they really want to focus on the entertainment side of things, which I think the Ryzen chip would be able to hold. And it would be interesting to see if they send out different games or run them at different resolutions for older models compared to the new one. So I think you're getting probably the best product on the market this year. And for those of us that have previous generation Intel Atom processors for infotainment units, I think we can still have fun with our Sonic the Hedgehogs.
Which I'm doing right now. I mean, I'm looking forward to testing the new delivered Model 3s when they come to Australia later this month. Of course, anybody in Sydney watching, I'd love to review your base long range performance, whatever it is. Just drop me an email if you're local. I'll certainly go out and have a look at your car. But I mean, I don't know a lot about computers. Just from my understanding, the envelope is pushed with chips because of games. That's really, the gaming industry pushes chips, pushes processors. So what you're saying, that it makes sense to me in my head that the Ryzen chip will help with the gaming side of things. I'm not sure whether it's going to help too much with the driving side of things, though. What do you think about that?
Um, I may be wrong, and I'm not the best when it comes to hardware and computers as well, but my understanding is it's an infotainment chip, so it will be used. I don't think it's anything to do with the full self-driving computer, but having said that, I may be wrong. So I think our viewers may know a little bit more about that side of things. I don't feel the driving experience is going to be much different. Maybe for some of us, with the new feature, the blind spot cameras that
Yes.
they've got,
Yes.
maybe they come on half a second quicker or something like that with the
Yeah.
new Ryzen chips compared to what we may experience. But I'm not entirely sure if it's going to have a big role to play in terms of the driving experience.
I mean, as you guys might know, I upgraded my Model S infotainment chip from the, what was the old one? It's Intel now.
Mhm.
I forgot the name of the previous chip. Someone will tell me. But yeah, I mean, particularly with navigation, it was really slow on the old chip, on the MCU1. And now the MCU2, it does indirectly improve the driving experience because the map updates faster. You can, type in something quicker. You can change your music faster as well. So I think it does indirectly improve the experience. Like, I don't know about you, but I haven't experienced too much of a slowdown yet with Model 3 with our Intel chips. You can sometimes, when you're pushing it, it might be a bit slower when you're trying to bring up YouTube or something else. You can see it starting to slow a little bit. What do you think?
I think that's a good point. I forgot that our cars had YouTube, and yeah, that is one of the areas that I feel the new Ryzen chip is going to change that. That's going to be loading fairly quickly because I get the slight lag as well sometimes when you're loading up. When you're trying to watch Ludicrous Feed on the go, obviously parked, it is
Yes.
a little bit slow to load. But I think that will change. So it's very exciting. And I think the other quick point, my understanding is that some of the newer models will be getting the lithium ion accessories battery.
I hear
And
that too. Yep.
that's also going to be a bit of a game changer. I'm not sure if Tesla would be interested in retrofitting those batteries into older cars, but I mean, you're getting the best product when you buy a new Tesla.
Yep. For sure. Let's keep going back to your data here. I guess we touched on Queensland a little bit. I think Queensland's actually done very well, as you said, not having any incentives at all. By the way, the only two states that I know, correct me if I'm wrong, is Queensland and WA that don't have any incentives currently.
That's what I understand as well, and probably Northern Territory as well, given they sold 22 cars. But I'm not too sure at the moment with Northern Territory. But yeah, Queensland and WA, I feel that things are in the works. I think there is policies that are currently being developed that would encourage that uptake. Um, I, th- I feel one of the big things that's missing at the moment is obviously federal government incentives on top of the state incentives, just like they have in the US. If there is some sort of incentives that are going to be rolled out, maybe we won't see them on first half of this year, maybe the second half. If that starts to happen, then that will create further interest. The only concern with any further incentives, particularly in those states that already have incentives, is that the demand's going to skyrocket. And I feel the lead times on these cars is just going to push out. It might be 6 or 7 months. Like at the moment, the base Model 3 in the US, I'd feel the deliveries are June 2022
It's crazy.
at the moment.
4 months. Yeah.
4 or 5 months, yeah. So I think Queensland and WA will introduce some incentives shortly just to, they do compete with each other, these states do, and they will eventually have to, or they may say, oh, we're doing so well with without the incentive. So, people feel wealthier as it is.
That was actually the point I had in my head, that we kind of we don't want to do too well, then we won't get any money from the government. But that's also a good thing as well, I guess. We've got here Outback EV saying incentives for Northern Territory start July 22. And he or she's saying looking at no stamps and no stamp duty and low rego at the moment. That's good. Good to see. Hopefully we'll get an increase from 22. Now the Aiden 164 makes a good point. The only incentive in Queensland, I guess in general across Australia and the world, is that the price of fuel is going up. Not sure about you in Victoria there is, but driving around and laughing at the petrol stations, like I'm seeing $1.75, $1.80 for premium. Like, that's just nuts. Crazy prices.
91 in Victoria and Melbourne at the moment is 194.
Wow.
So we're heading towards that UK sort of fuel prices. And that's 91. I think in the UK, the base fuel is 95.
Yeah, that's just nuts. I mean, I know I used to go to Singapore a little bit, and they were already $2 a litre back in 2015, 2016, and that was pre-COVID. And their dollar's very similar to ours. So, yeah, we were laughing at them 5 years ago, 6 years ago. And now, look at us, we're sort of heading in the same direction. I mean, if fuel prices aren't enough of a disincentive to own ICE, I mean, surely people are thinking about, maybe I should go EV. I've got solar panels, electricity is cheap. Sure.
I think in all the discussions that I have with people now, even people that you wouldn't think would be considering a new car, or they may be considering a new car, they're very interested. They're curious. They're interested. Somehow the awareness has gotten out there through various different media outlets that EVs are just generally better, and that is a very, very positive thing. The other interesting point is that car companies, including Kia and the others, we're seeing them put on a lot of ads out there, trying to create a hype and awareness around their electric vehicles that are coming up. So advertising spending globally by automotive manufacturers focusing on EV awareness is nearly gone up threefolds in the last year, because they can't supply ICE cars because of chip shortages. So they're using this time to try and prep people up. So many different ways people are consuming this information, and they're figuring out, well, next car is probably going to be an electric car. So either we hold off for a couple of 1 to 2 years until they become more affordable. And also people are just looking at these fuel prices now, and it's sort of like saying, well, it's approaching $2, The only thing is that we don't do a good enough job trying to explain to everyday consumers and prospective buyers how much more affordable it is to charge your electric vehicle, which a lot of the videos you cover, Tom, focusing on that as well.
I am trying, like the last video I did for my power bill, just comparing, just basically outlining 2 electric vehicles and a house, that got 4,500 views and still going up. So I think people are interested. I'm sure not everyone who watches that is an EV owner. A lot of curious Joes out there. And look, I'll try and do that every month if I can, just to show folks that someone like me, an everyday guy with an everyday family, we can do it, pretty economically in Australia. It can be done. I just want to quickly touch on a few more comments here. So Martin is saying the new Ryzen processors are more power efficient than Atom and cheaper than Intel. If you try to stream 1080p video on YouTube, Netflix with Intel, it will really struggle, as we've just chatted about before. Thank you for confirming that.
Awesome.
So Peter Cook, one of our viewers and members, also says LFP batteries are fantastic, but heavy and bulky and only good for standard range base model cars, more durable, longer life cycle, no thermal runaway events. Thank you for that, Peter. And Gaffer's saying, unfortunately, that's why Elon doesn't care to push the $25,000 Tesla. Cry face. They sell everything they make now. No need to add issues. That's very true, unfortunately. There's just so much demand for anything they make. So, yeah, no incentive to make something else, unfortunately.
I listened to the 12 or 15 minutes where Elon spoke at the earnings call last week, and it was very clear. he said, our biggest issue this year is going to be we're not going to focus on any other new products because that will limit what we can produce with our existing factories. And $25,000 car is just, I know it's democratizing EVs, and they will get there. They'll be the first people to get there and deliver a quality product that everybody would want. The issue would be that's another distraction from the current demand and ramp up of the two new factories, the 4680 battery cells that are supposed to be in the Austin, Texas built Model Ys, which hopefully that technology will also, they'll be pushing for it to be in most cars apart from the LFP base model cars. So, and their focus is to ramp up production scale this year. And if they can do that with the chip and supply chain issues, Elon said this is going to be our problem this year, and next year it will move back to battery cells. So there is a fair few big moves happening with Tesla and CATL supplying lithium phosphate iron batteries, where they're building up a factory right next to Giga Shanghai. And they've already got 60% production happening to supply batteries to Tesla. And for Giga Berlin, they are talking about building a factory, and it hasn't been disclosed fully, but CATL with the LFP batteries is thinking about putting together a factory in Poland very close to the Berlin plant so that they can, ship things as quickly as possible. And it helps Tesla because all of a sudden your basically raw materials are coming from down the road.
Absolutely.
So lots happening in that space, and 25K car hopefully will be here in 2 to 3 years time.
Yeah. I mean, Tesla's done the right thing. They've done the vertical integration very well, owning pretty much everything from the source to the final product. It's just great economics. That's why we can have a $59,000 car in Australia. It makes a lot of sense. Obviously we talk a lot about Tesla because we obviously can't help ourselves. They are the market leader in this country, but I just want to quickly share, just go back to the screen, back to our Which Car article, because I do want to touch on other EVs. I do love other EVs. We're not just off of Tesla, but let's just quickly share this. So look, you look at the numbers here, like 2021 sales, Tesla Model 3, 12,000 out of 20,000 sales in 2021. That's just 60% of EVs coming to Australia are Tesla Model 3s. That it just can't be helped. They are the market leaders, and that's why we keep talking about them.
I feel that MGZS EV has done well given some of the what's a way of putting it? Some of the range constraints that vehicle has, and you covered that in some of your the week-long review that you had with experience with the car as well. It's not unlivable. There's a lot of people I see driving around with down here in Victoria with the CPV, commercial passenger vehicle, which is an Uber. A lot of people are doing that around here. So there is a bit of a demand, and hire car companies are hiring them out as well. They've done well given the constraints that they've had with the product. Having said that, there's a new one coming, and people know what MG is all about now in terms of affordable, normal cars as well as EVs. And with the longer range, I think they're going to do really well with that product coming into the market. And they've established themselves as a bit of a leader in this electric vehicle space.
I mean, look, Model 3 is obviously made in China. Well, at least the factory's in China. MG's based in China. We're getting BYD showroom opening in Sydney this month. And BYD's looking very compelling as well with the price. So look, China could bring us into the 21st century with EVs, because they are making EVs.
I think the industry there is just insane. Like in 2020, they sold 1.37 million new energy vehicles.
Yep.
In 2021, they sold 3.5 million.
That's
this
crazy.
year, they're going to be selling more than 6 million. It's literally doubling. So the biggest constraint that I see for Australian consumers is MG and some of and Tesla will do well in terms of trying to give us supply. And BYD may surprise us. Nextport, who are the importers, may surprise us by getting a good, decent allocation. And it's, to be honest, it's in their best interest. They could use Australia as a test market in the Western world, apart from them sort of delivering cars to Norway. But they could use Australia as a test market and really give us the supply that consumers here want, regardless of what people in Canberra think. There is the demands there. I feel the biggest issue is going to be supply, and if MG, Tesla, BYD, and hopefully Hyundai, but Hyundai and Kia, I don't think they'll have the capacity to deliver affordable electric vehicles this year.
Okay. Speaking of which, I'm hoping to get the EV6 soon as well, so everyone stay tuned. I want to thank Martin for the $10 donation. Thank you very much, Martin. He says, thanks again for this channel. Hardly get time to watch live, but thank you for joining us tonight. Have a coffee on me. I will. I definitely will. I have 2 coffees for $10. Thank you. Sydney prices. You spoke about Uber earlier. I just want to just put up Peter Cook's comment. Peter is our resident Model 3 Uber driver here in Sydney. I once had someone try and trick me into recommending a Tesla for the commute from Marrickville to Sydney CBD. I told them better to take the bus. They were surprised how honest I was. But for those of you who are not in Sydney, Marrickville to Sydney is actually very close, to be honest with you. So yeah, Peter's very honest. I like Peter. But he also made another comment. He had 30 to 50 groups of Uber riders a week. Over half want to know the cost. Almost all are gobsmacked at 60,000, which is what we talked about earlier. Especially when I go straight into talking about fuel and servicing costs. Peter, you're a great ambassador for Tesla and EVs. You're out there every day at the coalface, so to speak. I shouldn't use that term, coalface. That's not a good term. At the forefront. So thank you, Peter. That's great. Great to hear. Yeah, I mean, and here we go. It's just a nice comment I'd like to put up here. EV plus solar, no brainer, absolutely. Zero for emission, free fuel, near zero maintenance, near zero power bills. 100%.
Just on that point of solar, I think if there's an analogy that we can use as to what's going to happen in the new energy vehicle, let's say, battery electric vehicles, BEVs, in the near future, we only have to just look at our recent past as to what's happened to the solar industry. The same thing is going to happen, or something very similar is going to happen, where 10 years ago, if you were to install a solar system, you'll get a small 3 kilowatt system and it will cost you 30 grand. Now, I think you can get 6.6, or that's the sort of the minimum, the base level systems these days that most companies are selling for under 10 grand or 8 grand or something like that. Yep. So the cost will come down. We're going to have so much choice. Reliability is not even going to be an issue. As we're seeing, there's a bit of consensus out there that, the products that are coming out of China, particularly around cars, are of lower quality. That is incorrect. I've got 2. I've got a Californian, Fremont built Performance and Shanghai built SR Plus. And I can assure you the SR Plus is really, really, it's better built car all around. They've learned a lot from what they've learned in California. So that itself is going to change, and the quality of product and the uptake and the way that the market will explode, we only have to look at the solar side of things, and then you're charging for free.
Yep, that's a very good point. Very good point. And I guess with mobile phones and devices, 10, 15 years ago, like smartphone, you're going to be kidding. Why do you need one of those? And look at it today. Everyone has a smartphone. So I think, I don't know where we're still probably on the flat part of the S-curve, but we're certainly, at least we can see the upslope there. The signs are looking good. Just want to point out Gaffer's comment here. The MG HS Plus EV is the new version coming, I think, with the bigger range. Tom will have to check it when it turns up. Yes, I'm on good terms with MG, so hopefully I'll get that car when it comes for that week-long review, which I'd like to do as well. Yes, definitely will do, Gaffer. Oliver says he spotted 2 Cupra Borns charging next to me the other week at Sydney Zedland chargers. That's great. That's good. They look pretty good, actually, I've got to say. For those of you who don't know, Cupra Born is the Volkswagen-built EVs coming to Australia.
And just on the Cupra, that is going to be, from what I understand, Volkswagen Australia's first attempt at bringing in EVs into Australia. And I've also heard reports that, and I may be wrong, but I've heard reports that the Cupra will probably be the only electric car that Volkswagen Australia would sell in this year, and then 2022 we'll see what happens.
Yep. Yeah, looking forward to seeing that. It's a bit of a hot hatch, isn't it? It's a smallish, sporty hatch, I think, from memory, or is it a small SUV?
I think it's a small hatch.
Hatch, yeah, that's what I thought.
Hmm.
Yep. Yeah. So let's see. Yeah, just quickly as well. Yep. People are shocked when there's no service on the Tesla. Yeah, I love saying that as well. I think when we say there's no regularly scheduled service, you still have to bring it in for stuff, or they come to you for minor things. But very rarely, got to say, they're pretty reliable cars. I think most of the most of the Tesla owners here will agree with me on that for sure. Yeah, I mean, is there anything else you want to add, Riz, before we round up tonight?
No, I think we've covered everything. I think it's going to be a very exciting year. Whether you own an EV or you're looking at getting one, there's going to be a lot more products coming into Australia. I hope that the products come with supply, because there's a bit of disappointment, as we've seen with some of the recent launches, where there's just not enough for what the demand is. So it's going to be an exciting year. I feel that we'll probably head, just from a Tesla sales point of view, I think we'll get close to 20,000 Model 3 sales this year. And if we get the Model Y in Australia this year, then obviously that's going to be a lot higher for Tesla. But as EVs or battery powered vehicles, BYD will be exciting to look at, to see if they can deliver on the supply and use us as a test market. So it's going to be exciting all round.
Yep. No, I cannot wait. It's going to be a great year. It's going to be no more COVID, hopefully, or at least no more lockdowns, more EVs, all good stuff coming up in 2022. Well, Riz, thank you very much again for joining us tonight. As always, love having you on, all your insights. And everyone, check out carloop.com.au. Riz is the founder of that business, and he looks at data on electric vehicles, ownership trends in the Australian market. So always great to have you on, Riz. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, Tom, and thanks everyone. It's great to be part of this amazing community.
Indeed, we're lucky to have you, Riz, and thank you always for joining us and being a member as well of Ludicrous Feed. Have a good night.
You too. Bye.
Take care. That's Riz Akhtar from carloop.com.au. As I said, always great to have him on. His insights are fantastic. He really, for me, I learn a lot from him when I chat to him about EVs, Teslas, about trends, about what's coming up. We chat a lot. So yeah, it's good to have him on. And if you've got any questions for Riz, leave it in the comments. I'm sure he reads them as well. All right, guys. Well, that is it for tonight. If you missed anything in tonight's stream, you're more than welcome to go back and watch it again. We were talking about EV sales in Australia in 2021. Of course, focusing more on Tesla Model 3s, given that there were 12,000 Model 3 sales. And that's real data. That's the first time Tesla has released official data to anyone in Australia. They exclusively released it to EV Council of Australia. So 12,000 Tesla Model 3s were sold in Australia in 2021. And New South Wales got the most numbers of Tesla Model 3s, followed by Victoria, Queensland, WA, so on and so forth. And check back through the stream for the data from the other states. It'd be great to have a bit of a state of origin in 2022 to see who comes out on top at the end of this year. And when we do the stream again in 12 months' time, we review the data. All right, everyone, that's it from me tonight. I hope you're all having a great February, great start to 2022. And we'll do this every Thursday night. If you've got any suggestions for topics, make sure you leave that in the comments section as well, or send me an email. Otherwise, we'll chat next week. And until then, I'll just put the end screen on. Give me 1 second. Until then, still playing with this. Until then, I will see you next week. Take care, everyone. And as always, happy charging.